Well, that's not right, is it? Hello, guys, and welcome to Off the Cuff Paranormal with myself, Daryl, and
me. Just me.
Okay. Now I know I'm looking at my Facebook page right now, guys, and I can tell you officially something happened. I lost it. I was on Facebook, and it just went kerplutters. I don't know what happened. I don't know what's going on. And I have no idea why it just stopped. I can see myself, but I don't know what happened, man. I just don't know what happened. Let me just see if I can, hang on. Let me just see if I can do this and try this again. Nope. Something happened, guys. I don't know what happened, and I can't get us back on. So for those of you that are following us on Facebook or want to follow us on YouTube, maybe somebody can make a note on Facebook and tell them that I had problems, and please to go follow us on YouTube. Stuff happens. I don't know what happened. So anyway, guys, we're down on YouTube right now. I don't know why, but it is what it is. Or down on Facebook. So sorry, guys. Don't know what the heck happened, but it did. Anyway, it is what it is. Anyway, we're here.
I want to say because I can actually watch this, like the comments now. I got myself a nice fancy ring light here.
Oh,
and, yeah, you can see me in all my glory, and I can see comments now, so I can say hello, Kay, and hello, Amy.
Oh, well, there you go.
Now I don't have to flick back and forth between screens anymore.
We are getting better. If only I had not messed up our live feed today, it would have been not a problem. You know, the stupid thing is I can see where it was, but it wasn't doing it right. So I have no idea why. I can try to set it up again, but I don't know if it's going to work. But I'm kind of beating around the bush here playing with this guy. So you know what? I'm just not going to waste the time on it. Anyway, Facebook, sorry, you're out this time around. Go figure. So guys, goes to show, if you noticed by the beginning of our show, what do we have up there, Mike?
I think that looked like a clock.
Well, that was my interpretation of a clock anyway. But I think it only ran 6 times.
Hmm.
I couldn't fit 12 in there.
It was kind of, it was weird because all of a sudden like warped and it went. Did you hear it? It was
Did
really
it?
weird. Yeah, I'm like, well, okay, that's different. I don't think it did that the first time I heard it.
No. there was a few glitches, technical malfunctions on that. But why the clock, Mike?
Well, that was your doing. So why don't you explain why the clock? You're the guilty party today.
I am. Well, guys, okay. So tonight, being that we're talking about stuff, clock, well, time. I know we've talked about time in the past, and we've had lots of time to talk about time. No pun intended, but we have. But recently it came to my attention that, well, time just goes a lot deeper than what we thought. So tonight, not to quote, well, to quote Mike, actually, we are going a lot deeper down a rabbit hole than ever before. And just in case I get frustrated, I've got my damn it doll. Yes, I did say that's a damn it doll. And the reason is, and you don't get these anywhere, they got legs. Okay, so what it says, while we're talking about this, whenever things don't go well, and you want to hit the wall and yell, here's a little damn it doll that you can't do without. Just grasp it firmly by the legs, and when you find a place to slam it, and as you whack the stuffing out of it, yell, damn it, damn it, damn it. So by the end of this show, I might be just doing that.
Daryl plays with dolls.
Purple hair ones too.
Which kind of funny. I play with dolls too. Anyway.
Now we're gonna go now. No, that's our time, folks. No, just kidding.
Yeah, I don't know if Annabelle's going to make an appearance on one of our shows. You never know.
You never know. She might be creeping up on you. I think I saw some hair go by behind you there, Mike.
Hope not.
So time. Something that I was thinking about earlier, and I know it's a crazy thought, and we're just going to go with a bunch of crazy thoughts today, okay? People that have experienced, and when we've done investigations, we've experienced battery drain, right? Now, somebody said to me, are you sure that's battery drain? Like, is something just draining your batteries? Or is this something much more? And I said, well, what do you mean? And they said, well, I mean, time. And I said, what about time? I mean, I got the time. He goes, well, okay, so is there some type of concept in the field of the paranormal, and not just the field of the paranormal, but the field of paranormal as we know it right now, that causes that battery drain. So what I'm referring to is, let's say everybody's sitting in a circle, everybody experiences the same battery drain at the same time. Is it because something just sucked the energy out of the batteries? Or is it because everybody at that point in time had, I guess, a leap into a different reality, whether it be the ghostly reality or not, because of a given event? And it wasn't so much that the battery is drained, it's just that because time is different, there was a lot more time that passed in the fractions of a few seconds here, a lot more time passed there, and thus the battery drain was noticed. You see what I'm getting at?
I do see what you're getting at.
So it's kind of like one of those things where you think you scratch your head and go, is it possible? Is it possible that people are being slipped into another reality when it comes to working in the paranormal with when you're doing EVPs or when you experience something, when you have an experience, right? Is there a time slip of some type that could affect us on a level that's, to us, we don't even notice it, really. But to other items, they may notice it, like a battery drain.
Like almost like a micro time slip, right? So it only affects those that are in the proximity of what we're doing, but not perceived by anyone else. So almost like we're taken away from one time and put into another time and then put back into the other time. But like the batteries, they basically were drained from the procedure.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Or they were just on longer. They were on longer. Like we experienced something. We're in that, as Kay said, of that time slip. And that time slip, excuse me, that time slip, although to us wasn't much, like we just, as it didn't really happen as far as we're concerned. We're like, well, what did people just experience? What did you hear? What did you feel? What did you think? What did you, all that kind of stuff. But to other things, it's more prevalent because to us, our minds have just been said, hey, you don't realize this just took place. Mm-hmm. But to the batteries, and I mean, it's a shot in the dark, but to the batteries, they've been going for 5 or 6 hours. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? Because here's the thing. I don't know if you remember a while ago when I was telling you about, when I had my episode and I had passed and come back and stuff, and I was moving very, very quickly down the halls.
Yeah.
And to me, there was no relevancy to time. None. It didn't matter. It's like it didn't matter. Like it wasn't there. So is there a time variance in that field that we're experiencing as paranormal investigators, yet you don't really notice it?
Yeah.
Like right now, I consider literally right now, I can see Kay going, but you get my gist. It's you have to sit back and think, do you really notice that when you're in the paranormal field? Do you really notice this happening to you?
I mean, everything that like all of our other equipment, like a video camera, anything that captures things in time, like a video camera or a voice recorder, it records it as it should, right? Like say we're going to do a 45-minute EVP session. Pardon me, it captures it as a 45-minute EVP session.
Yes.
But I also get what you're saying, whereas on the other side, time is not linear. It's like almost like I know we've talked about it before, like parallel universes, so to speak, but is the paranormal realm another parallel universe that you, as Kay puts it, you time slip, you slip into it?
Yeah. And that's what I mean. That you got it exactly. And it makes you wonder. I mean, if you look at the whole concepts of time, it's a standard thing for us when you're sitting on this planet that we call Earth, right? Mm-hmm. It's a standard thing. It's like we look at, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, time is time, right? Although, you know as well as I do, you can have days that go by really fast and days that just go, and it's really, really slow.
Yeah.
But if you sit there, hello, Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Hello, Jennifer.
If you like, according to Einstein and a few others, you travel at the speed of light, what happens to time?
Well, it is not the same. It's
no, but is it? Think about it now. Remember I told you, when I passed, I was moving so fast that everything didn't matter. So theoretically, was I moving at the speed of light?
I'm just picturing like Star Trek now. Here it goes, the
Well,
Starship Daryl.
okay. Speed of light is 299,792,458 meters per second. That's fast.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, really fast. But when somebody in the paranormal field is deceased or gone, they're on the other side, is there any relevancy to how fast they move?
Well, no, because we have no way to gauge that, right? Like, when there's sightings, so to speak, it's usually a shadow figure or it's something moving out of the corner of their eye. Rarely is it something just standing there in front of you.
True, but let me throw this at you. If this was a realistic concept, and I'm not saying it is or isn't, but let's say it was, would that explain all of those blurry photographs everybody always gets?
Bad photography.
Well, you're just not catching it fast enough. No matter how fast your camera is, it's just not fast enough.
Yeah, because I mean, like the fastest shutter speed is like one. I mean, you can get super fast. The average person's not going to have the super fast shutter lenses or anything like that. But I think you can get usually like 1/1000th of a second.
Mm-hmm.
Which in itself, when you think about what you say the speed of light was,
299,792,458 meters per second.
So do you think a camera, the average cell phone camera, is going to capture something going that fast?
Well, that's the thing. Now
No.
we're talking the speed of light,
Yes.
but that's the thing. I mean, is it relevancy? So they're not knowing what really goes on in the paranormal realm, what really happens after we're gone and later on, is so much unknown that this concept of time or lack thereof, or maybe excessive of, I don't know, makes it so difficult. So when we capture stuff, or we get lucky enough to capture stuff, you've said it before, are we capturing just one snippet that happens to be going just at the right point that we get lucky enough to get it?
Yeah, it kind of makes sense when you think about your personal experience that you had, where you seem to be moving and everything else was standing still. It does kind of make sense. It does.
Well, that's what I was kind of thinking.
It does. It does. I sent you that quote. Where the hell was it now?
Oh, hang on a second. Which one was that? Was that the first one, or the brown one, or the white one?
The brown one or the white one? Oh my god!
That one?
No, the other one.
This one.
That one there, from our good friend Einstein.
So, okay.
Time is an illusion, right? So time is perceived by what it's all what we perceive to be time, right? So time to something else is time to that, right? Like I'm gonna how do I put it? How do I explain it best? Oh my god, my brain is just not working right now. I need more time.
Well, they have so much time, but I mean, it's
So basically, he wrote, people like us who believe in physics, speaking of Einstein, know that the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. Time, in other words, he said, is an illusion. Many physicists have since shared this view that true reality is timeless. So it's just something that's man-made.
well now. Okay. Okay, I can see where they're going with that, and you're right. Time is illusion. Before, at least our concept of time is just an illusion. I mean, we have time because we have to run our lives. We have to have some sort of guidance to make things work. Otherwise, the the ability to order ourselves probably wouldn't work out very well.
Mhm.
So we have to work within a certain concept, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can understand where they're saying time is just an illusion. I mean, before we had clocks, before we had a concept, even I guess what did caveman turn around and said? Did they really say there wasn't any time? I guess even to them there was, because there was night and day, there was cold
There
and
was day.
warm,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There were seasons. So even for them, there was still some form of time that they knew was better than other parts or other what am I looking for? Not just times, because I'm just using the word time constantly. But
even now, time is different depending on where you are in the world, like in different parts of the world, right? So, as an example, if you are down at sea level, time is granted it is like a fraction of a second, right? You don't even notice it, but time at sea level is different than time at elevation.
well,
So
I've heard that. I don't know what the actual difference is. I guess it depends on how high you go up. But I mean,
yeah,
you're right. It's so minute.
right. It's so minute, but it is different. It's like after so many times in an airplane, is your life actually shorter by like 5 seconds? Or is it longer by 5 seconds?
Well, that is true. That is true. There was some other topics that you brought up, and I don't have them on me in relevance to time. I have to look back at our chats here.
Our chat today was quite entertaining. It was
It,
like
it, it was, but I have to look back at Messenger. So excuse me for a minute, guys. I can't exactly remember what Mike was actually saying, because we said a lot of stuff. It's on my phone, but if I leave my phone right now, I'm going to lose you guys.
while you're looking, I mean, there's another theoretical physicist by the name of Carlo Rovelli. He said, time is an illusion. Our naive perception of its flow doesn't correspond to physical reality."
Say what? Say that again.
Time is an illusion. Our naive perception of its flow doesn't correspond to physical reality. This is according to a theoretical physicist.
I don't know. You said that. Now you're going to have to explain it to me.
I couldn't explain it to you. I have this up on my computer, and I'm going, okay.
Yeah. Well,
Another quote by Einstein is, "If you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, then you don't fully understand it yourself."
well, yeah, that's true. Excuse me while my computer's making noises, guys. I got to find Mike here. There he is. Let's go back to what you had said earlier, Mike. So, yes, you're also bringing a thought about time and memory.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think you said, so what is time? What is memory? Is the paranormal activity we experience a memory, or is there much more to it? Well,
Is there?
I'd be right.
It's one of those questions that makes you go, like, what is time a memory? What is time? Because I also went on to say, like, time as perceived, if you go into the future, there's a future version of you, there's a future version of me, say even an hour from now when our show is done, and we're going to look back on now, right? So is now, it's very confusing.
Which brings up another concept, okay? Which I think it was either you or Amy that brought this up once before. And forgive me if I'm missing comments, guys. I'm kind of bopping back and forth here.
No comments, you're good.
And that was I lost it. It was in time. No. I'm just looking at the little star guy. My brain just hurts. My memory.
Everyone's trying to figure out where the hell the show's going.
But no, and I think it was somebody else that brought up that if if that were the case, then and I think it might have been Amy, but somebody said, if that were the case, would the EVPs that we're capturing be from the people that have passed, or are they from us because we're already here and there as well as here at the same time?
Right. Yes. It was. I think it was Amy, but I can't remember. But yeah, it's really hard to wrap your head around the whole concept of it. Like, what is the EVP that you're capturing? Is it our future selves? Are we capturing our future selves?
Well, that's a question. But then again, why would the voices be so convoluted?
Because there's probably no way to truly communicate with yourself from the past, because it's a form of time travel, right? And of course, time travel is not, theoretically it's possible, but it's not been done. So is that what's happening here? Is that
Yeah, but
is that our future self? We're hearing our future selves, but it's all mumble jumbled.
but if you're asking something, can you hear me? You get a yes. How's that our future selves?
Is it us? Is it actually us? Like, take yourself into a situation, you're investigating a place, but there's other people in the environment, right? You got someone that lives next door, someone over here, someone out on the street, right? What if their energy is what you are communicating with? It isn't you. You're not talking to yourself. You're talking to someone else. I don't know. I'm just spitballing now because I'm trying to make sense of it all. It sounds ludicrous to me, but oh, what did Amy say? Okay, remember that experiment a few weeks ago? We got responses from questions to answers potentially seconds, if not a few minutes before. Yeah, yeah. It was actually a really interesting experiment that we did, and I can't prove that what happened was legit.
Well, I don't know the response to that yet.
But because we can explain the situation, what we were doing, right? We basically had one person in one room, and we had another person in a completely separate room, and then the third person was just operating the video camera.
Mm-hmm.
And so the person in one room was asking questions and talking to whoever might be there, while the other person that was in a separate room being videotaped just laid there and spit out answers and things that came to their head. It was a really interesting experiment because I've never tried before, but upon further review, there was things that were coming to us that was like, it was very interesting. we all had answers to things that were said in the other room, even though we could not hear each other. And now I'm not saying that, like, me, I'm as you said I was. What did you say? Something about a rock or something? I'm just,
Our dear friend Mike is about as sensitive as a rock.
That's it. Yes, about as sensitive as a rock.
That.
But even I came up with some answers that came to my head that corresponded to what Amy. Was it Amy? No, Amy was video.
I was asking questions.
You were asking questions, and I actually answered. Now we know that you have some. I call them superpowers. your superhuman powers. But there was one part, and I have to go back and listen to it again. But you actually said a name that came up, and you said Sam or Samantha.
Yes, I did.
Now the funny thing is, Amy did not say anything about it because she was the one asking the questions, I believe, while you were, spitting out answers.
Yeah.
I could hear someone out in the street saying, "Hey, it's me, Samantha."
Yeah, so I picked up a whisper out on the street.
Exactly. So they were having a conversation out in the street. Now you couldn't have heard it because it was not caught on the voice recorder in the room where you were. It was caught on the voice recorder in the other room, which was closer to the street. Right?
But you remember hearing it, or you heard it on the recorder?
I heard it on the voice recorder. Because it was in the background. That's where when I do an AVP review, I actually listen to more than what's just happening there. You listen to stuff going on in the background. Like you hear a car alarm being activated, you hear a dog barking, and so on. There was a
Mhm.
conversation that was had, and it was like, it sounded like two women, and it said, "Hey, it's me, Samantha," and then
Mhm.
you on the other voice recorder at that moment in time, like within like 10 seconds, said, "I'm getting the name Sam or Samantha."
Well, obviously, I must have heard it subliminally.
Right? But
I must have.
is that how we're picking up EVPs? It's not necessarily where we are. It's in close proximity to us, but is it also in, keeping to the theme of the show, is it in our timeline? Is it in our time frame? Do we not get EVPs because we're not in the same time as the spirits? Right? Do we have to all collectively be in the same time? So say there's three of us doing an EVP session, but one of us is over here, their mind's over thinking about, oh, did I pay my phone bill? No, I don't think I did. And then the other two are like, yeah, they're right into the EVP session. So they're not all together in the time slip.
Well, no, that's just
You have to
downright confusing.
you have to be in a ball of energy that gets thrust into the time, and then you get EVPs, and then you get thrusted back out. Which might explain why sometimes when we're doing an EVP session and we've predetermined it's going to be 45 minutes, next thing you know, you look at your watch and 45 minutes is up. It feels like it's been maybe 10.
True. We've done that. But then again, it's been the opposite as well. You're like going, we've only done it 10 minutes. Oh my God.
But again, that links back where is everybody's collective mind focused on the task at hand? Or is someone there sitting there thinking about, did I pay my phone bill?
That's why you got the name Bill.
Right.
I mean, there's so many plausibilities when it comes to whether or not, I mean, I guess my whole thing is that if after death, as we believe it to be, or let's see, let me rephrase that, as we understand it might be, because we don't know, right? Doesn't matter who it is, we just don't know. If time really doesn't matter, it would help to semi-explain some of the odd occurrences that people experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because if time doesn't matter or is irrelevant to them, then there's no limit to what's possible. And thus, the impossible happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And is the same time applicable to all the paranormal experiences? Which I mean, based on my findings, and I'm sure your findings, it doesn't seem to be the same.
Okay, elaborate on that just a minute.
Well, when it comes to the classifications of what kind of hauntings we are, and we've discussed that before, but residual versus other kinds.
Yeah.
There's ones where the spirits don't seem to interact with us.
Yeah.
Right? They appear to be on some sort of, loop, or a recording, so to speak. If you would put a record on, they're just there, just going over and over again. There was other ones seem to want to interact with you, right? With the activating a REM pod when we want them to, and then stepping away and doing it over again. So is it necessarily the type of spirit we're interacting with, or is it because they're in a totally different time period, time slip, so to speak?
I'm not really sure what to think of that, Mike.
Going down the rabbit hole. Just digging a little bit further.
And I'm taking the doll with me. Ain't going down alone, I can tell you that. Jesus.
Or are we just like overcomplicating things? Like, is it really not that difficult to like, should we just, what? We have ghosts that interact, we have ghosts that don't. Leave it at that.
Well, I would like to, in one sense, you would like to keep it as simple as possible. You really would. But we've been that road. And simple just doesn't answer the questions.
No, because we always ask the same question, like, do you know what time it is? Do you know what day it is? Do you know what year it is? Right? Those are standard questions.
And how many times?
I'm not gonna say never, but we rarely get anything from those kind of questions. It's like anything to do with time really doesn't compute.
That's true. That's
right?
very
Like,
true.
You get like, can you tell me your name? Yeah, sure, it's Sam. Can you tell me what year it is for you? Crickets.
Well, I mean, I can't say that I don't think we've ever gotten a year, because I think we have once or twice, but it's never what we thought it was. I mean, it might be a couple of numbers that we equate to maybe being a year.
Yeah.
But it's rare, like you said. It's next to zilch.
Yeah, usually you got like 23. Well, what was that? 1923, 2023, 1823. Like
Exactly. Yeah, we have gone through the years and
yes,
gotten REM pod response based on one thing or another.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. Now, is that because something can't necessarily say that, but they can actually manipulate something to prompt it to happen?
Yeah. And it seems to be consistently inconsistent.
That's yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. You are so absolutely correct. Consistently inconsistent. I love that. I'm going to keep that one. Next time my boss asks me what I'm going to do, I'm just going to be consistently inconsistent there. Thank you very kindly.
I'm used to many work reviews saying that.
Exactly.
Mike, how's your year been? Well, I've been consistently inconsistent.
How's your findings been? Well, there you go. But yes. I mean, it brings up like so many thoughts and so many ideas and so many concepts in one's head when they start thinking about all this. I mean, I guess another question. I mean, you get a spirit or an entity or whatever they may be, okay? And again, do we really know? No. We know what we believe, we know what we understand, what we think, but do we really know? No. For them to stay, if we work along the concepts that time is irrelevant, speed seems to be irrelevant, seems to be, and please understand I said that seems to be, because we really don't know. Is it difficult for them to stay in one spot? Do you think? I mean, I've been in a situation where it was a home. We had something that was there. We knew who it was. The person had passed there. We knew exactly who it was. Or we assumed that's who it was because everything pointed to that. It answered to the name. Okay. We had REM pod going off. Sorry, it wasn't REM pod. It was Fluffy, which was Nikki's pet dog toy.
It's a stuffed dog.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Stuffed dog with an EMF in it, thing in it, stuff like that. Anyway, it would beep when it went through it. So anyway, the trigger device, literally, we said, "Can you go near it?" I think we were going twice for yes, once for no. We had it backwards, but anyway, usually we go the other way. Anyway, it was literally, beep, beep, and then beep, right as we were asking questions. And we're like, this just can't be happening. And I mean, and it was hilarious because we had the people there from, one of the radio show out there. And Kai and Tara Jean were there. And, they said like, this is weird, right? So I think it was Nikki, somebody said, move over to the REM pod. The REM pod was in the middle of the table. Fluffy was on the side of her. I do believe she was sitting on the floor. And it actually moved to the REM pod when we asked it. And then when Nikki asked it back off, go back over to Fluffy, where did it go? right back over Fluffy again. Needless to say, I remember Terry Jean going, like when they did the radio show later, she goes, do you remember your mind just splitting wide open in your concept of reality when that happened? And he goes, yeah, I remember your hand on my crotch. I mean, she had her hand clamped like right on its it was just hilarious. But needless to say, it was a lot of fun. But they were blown away, but they weren't the only ones. I mean, and I always wondered whether it's difficult. Although people say an entity can remain in that one place, it's difficult. Is it difficult for them to remain there? If and I'm just going to go here because Amy's got a question, and I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
If it goes there, are the spirits not so much that time may not exist, but they're vibrating so quickly? Their vibrations, how do I describe it? Like they got a higher vibration than anything else, and that's why they move so quickly. I'm wondering if it's hard for them to stay in one spot.
Maybe.
Right, and that's
maybe
why
they were just like when they were alive. Maybe they just had ADHD. Right. I mean, I don't want to make light of people that have that affliction, but maybe they were like just very high-strung people when they were alive, and they can't sit still.
It's possible.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not that kind of person. I have a feeling like when I pass and I, assuming I get a choice whether I'm going to stick around or go somewhere else, and I'm probably going to want to stick around. I'm going to be like a slug of someone. I'm going to just laze around on people's couches and just look up and like knock a picture over and. I'm just gonna have a good time about it.
There'll be a whole other show, folks. It'll be me and an empty chair right there, and you'll just be seeing the empty chair wobble every once in a while to the questions. Oh, there he goes again. Exactly. What did Amy ask here?
Rabbit hole question. Do you think if the witching hour exists, like 3 a.m. when they say spirits are most active, they are aware of the time? Well, Amy, that's actually something that Daryl and I discussed today, was the witching hour. The phrase witching hour began at least as early as the year 1775 in the poem Night and Ode by Reverend Matthew West, though its origins may go further back to 1535 when the Catholic Church prohibited activities during the 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. time frame due to emerging fears about witchcraft in Europe.
Cool.
Yes. In the Western Christian tradition, the hour between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. was considered a period of peak supernatural activity. This time is also referred to as the Devil's Hour, due to it being a mocking inversion of the time in which Jesus supposedly died, which was at 3 p.m.
So there's more than one witching hours.
There are multiple witching hours. Basically, from everything that I've read about the witching hour, it basically starts at midnight and goes until about 4 a.m.
So is it just a concept? Is it a belief that people believe that the spirits are more active during these hours?
Yeah, pretty much.
And that was a simple answer.
it really comes down to that. Like that's just, people seem to believe that there is more things happening. And I think it's just because it's quieter. People, you're supposed to be sleeping and you wake up and you're groggy. You're kind of, not really all there, and you think you see something in your room or you think you hear something. I think that's what it boils down to. But people's imaginations can be very, very overactive, especially when you're half asleep.
No, but now here comes, but this brings up another question. I mean, a lot of people experience things when they're in these states, and we know that. And a lot of them we say, well, it could be this, it could be that, it could be this, it could be that, it could be because you're tired. We know about the more cones that are in the middle of the eye than in the corner of the eye. We know why certain things are created. We know why these events happen. But could it be that the brain is also very much because the brain never shuts off. It never shuts off. Is it because it's not over flooding with a lot of other data that we normally get during the day, or when we're just constantly awake? That when we're partially awake, we're more susceptible to the influences of the paranormal.
Sounds good.
And
No,
no, but
you're right. I mean, I have this here beside me. The witching hour may stem to a human sleep cycle and circadian rhythm. The body is going through REM sleep at that time, where the heart rate is slower, body temperature reduced, breathing pattern and blood pressure irregular, and a sudden awakening from REM sleep could cause agitation, fear, and disorientation in an individual.
well, sleep paralysis, but I
Sort
mean,
of, yeah.
sort of. And yeah, you're right. Waking up, yes, you could experience that, but at the same time, if you're just lying there in a relaxed state, then your mind is not necessarily as focused on any given task, and thus you're possibly more susceptible. I mean, I'm going to give you, okay, an example from my point of view. Okay, I get odd things and stuff like that, and
No.
yeah.
What? No. Hit me with it. Come on, hit me with it.
But that being said, if when I pick up something, okay, whether it's relevant or not, it seems to be relevant to me at the time. It may not be right. I may be totally wrong. I may be right. I don't know. But when I do get those things, there is, and I have noticed that there is just there's a shift. Let me say of me kind of being aware of what's going on around me, which I still am, but at the same time, it's kind of like having a lot of switches, right? And you got this switch on, this switch on, this switch on, this switch on. You have a lot of them on during the day. You're doing stuff, and then suddenly something goes click, click, and it's for an instant, but it's more important than all the rest of the on switches at the time. So at night, as we click those switches off, and somebody turns around and goes doot 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 doot, then are you more able to pick up on these things? So is it really either sleep paralysis, or is it really somebody waking up and not being fully awake when these events happen? Or is it just that somebody just went, now's the time I'm going to do this, and you're going to hear me, or you're going to experience this? You see what I'm saying?
Sticking with the theme of time, I see. Yes, now's the time to be doing these things. Yeah, it could be just dumb luck, like that just happened to be the precise moment that those things occurred.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know, right? I mean, I personally have experienced sleep paralysis. I don't know about you. We have friends that have as well. I talked about it once on our show before we went live on YouTube, where it was almost like a what was the term? An astral projection, where I could actually see myself from outside my own body. And I don't want anyone to think I'm wearing a tinfoil hat. I haven't had one made my size yet, but I can remember it to this day. Stop it. But I can still remember the experience to this day, right? But I've also had more of those moments where you are in between consciousness and asleep, but you are conscious enough to be aware of what's going on, but you are not awake enough to stop what's happening.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that and yes, it does coincide with, I don't want to say it's the witching hour, but it happened in the middle of the night because that's when you sleep.
True. So, well, that's when it most likely happens to people. Kay also just wrote this.
I heard it was the time when no prayers were being said in abbeys, etc. Some monks were asleep and therefore witches, etc. Yeah.
And then
sure. I could safely say I do not roam or frolic in the early hours of the morning. So now you know. Yeah. I don't either. I think my dogs would probably freak out if I got up and started walking around, but There's other things that actually people's health are affected by the so-called witching hour. It says during the night and well into the witching hour, symptoms of illnesses and conditions such as lung disease, asthma, flu, and common cold seem to exacerbate because there is less cortisol in the blood late at night and especially during sleep. As such, the immune system becomes very active and white blood cells fight infections in the body during sleep. And this would thereby worsen the symptoms of fever, nasal congestion, cough, chills, and sweating that people seem to experience, as I get congested right now, during the witching hour.
There's a lot that can be blamed on witches, isn't there?
It is a lot, but it does coincide back to, 400 years ago when people were basically mocking, the birth of Jesus, or was it the birth of Jesus, death of Jesus? I'd have to go back up now. When Jesus died at 3 p.m. So the opposite would be when the devil awakens, which would be 3 a.m.
Yeah. That's weird. Okay. I just read Kay's comment. I'm not going to put that one up.
There's, speaking of time, there are multiple times that can be considered the witching hour. Some claim the time is between 12 a.m. and 1 a.m., while others claim there is an increased supernatural activity between sunset and sunrise. During the time in which this term originated, many people had sleeping schedules that meant they were awake during the middle of the night. And I've worked graveyard shift, and I was in a department store, so not much happened.
Well, okay. I've worked graveyard shift as well. I think a lot of us have at some point in time. I got to admit, there are some creepy aspects to nighttime nocturnal things, but hey, we're ghost hunters. That's what we do. But we're nocturnal by nature, really, if you think about it. But there are some weird events that happen. That I honestly can't explain. I would say probably the same things happen during the day. It's just that it's day. We're not worried about it. We're not thinking about it. We're not scared of it. We're not startled by it. It just is.
Yeah, it is what it is. I know that's one thing that I'm always asked, like, whenever someone finds out what we do, and they say, "Oh my God, you're like those people on TV," and I say, "Well, not really, but okay."
Can I check my wallet, please?
Yeah, but the first question is like, tell me your scariest thing. Like, what's the spookiest thing that's ever happened to you? And it's like, there's nothing that's made me like run out of a building and like scream in fear or anything like that. It's maybe I'm wired differently. Like, even my daughter asked me recently, like, I think it was like a week ago, she's like, "Don't you get scared?" I'm like, "No."
I have been.
I know
Twice.
you have been. You told me about it.
Twice.
Yeah.
But there was one time, and I don't know if I told you about this. It's the only time I was running, but I was not a paranormal investigator at the time. Okay, this was before my time in the field. And I used to come home from work in Kitchener, Ontario. And instead of walking the long way around the cemetery, I decided to cut through it. Beautiful cemetery during the day. But at night, it has a whole other creepy feeling to the cemetery. Well, needless to say, I walked through the cemetery one night to get home. And I'm tromping through the cemetery, doing, "Yep, I'm here in the cemetery. I'm going to get, I can see the gate. I'm almost there." I'm just talking to myself loud enough that anybody else is going to hear me. I'm going to wake the dead before I get scared in the cemetery. Till my foot hit soft soil. And it went down about 7 inches into the soft soil. It was a fresh grave. I cleared the brick wall in about 30 seconds, let me tell you.
Yeah. I can imagine that would, yeah. Yeah. I can see that. I can see that. That would probably freak me out too, though.
Oh, it definitely did. But, I've had lots of time to think about that one.
Yeah, that would definitely do me. I mean, that's not necessarily, it is to do with the paranormal, I guess, but I mean, it's more a matter of being just something unexpected, right? Like, I think I'm like, my daughter always says, why don't you ever get scared? I get scared. Like, I mean, if my son hides behind a corner and jumps out and goes, "Bah!" Yeah, I act tough and like it didn't scare me, but yeah, I actually probably just peed my pants a little. Like, so.
You have to ask Nikki one day how many times I think I've made her scream.
Poor Nikki. Poor Nikki.
Kay just said this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Prayer times are about 3 hours apart. What does that say?
Louds?
3 a.m. prime 6 a.m. terrace 9 a.m. sext. What? Noon, none 3 p.m. Oh, I don't even know what this stuff is, Kay. Sorry, don't know. I'll have to read all that up. I think we kind of got past that point, but I'll have to read those up because I honestly don't know what they are.
I think it's harkening back to her, the witching hour and when prayers are and all that. But it also the whole concept of time is just an illusion. It's like those times, like, say you're in one set location, right here in Vancouver, and you do those prayers at those times. Well, that's great for right there, but an hour away in another time zone, the old church prayer times, but an hour away in a different time zone, that prayer doesn't mean jack poop.
True.
Right?
At least not that we know of. But then again,
yes, because
I've asked. I'm not a praying man, but I've asked for assistance and information wise. I was given the inclination that that question was answered, and when I went and checked, it was true.
Mm.
So how relevant is time or not relevant is time? Guys, guess what? Speaking of time.
Put up that other quote I sent you.
Oh, the other quote.
Like good old Roosevelt.
The more you know about the past, the better prepared you are for the future. Theodore Roosevelt. Well, there you go, guys. So hopefully you've all learned something about the past and the present and the future.
And now you're prepared for what happens next.
Prepare yourselves, because 2 weeks down the line, we're right back here again.
Oh my God. And 2 weeks from now, we're going to reflect back on tonight. It'll be in the past.
Exactly. But then again, our future selves already knew this.
Yeah, and they're going to go, that was a total...
Exactly. But guys, it's once again, it's been a pleasure having you all join us to go down this rabbit hole. This one's been exceedingly deep in a roundabout weird way. But
yeah, I mean, we've done the we've done the time shows before, and they always seem to be a fun. They seem to be a fun rabbit hole to go down. I wanted to see how far to the bottom we could get down to. I think we got down pretty deep. It was fun though.
And I don't think we actually hit bottom on this one either yet, but that's for another time.
We might get to the center of the earth by the time we get there.
Exactly, guys. Exactly. But it's been a lot of fun having you on board. And next week, I will try to work like heck to get this thing to work right on Facebook again. I had it 2 weeks in a row, and then, Anyway, it was a glitch, technical malfunction. I'll try to sort that all out. And anybody interested, we are on Twitter now. I do believe, Mike, you put us up on Twitter for Off the Cuff.
Yes, we do. We have as of today, we have a new Twitter handle. It is at Off the Cuff NPI.
Yeah.
So go on over to Twitter if you do that on the Twitterverse and check us out. It's basically just going to be, us doing our thing, but not the show. Well, we might broadcast the show on there eventually too, but we'd like to stay in touch with the paranormal world out there on Twitter too, because there's more to be found out there.
There definitely is. There definitely is. So, folks, thanks again for joining us on Off the Cuff Paranormal. From myself, Daryl, and
Mike.
We want to wish you all an excellent night. And thanks again from Off the Cuff Paranormal. Good night, guys.
Good night, everybody.